For centuries, Earth had remained silent. To the Galactic Council, humanity was a minor world, primitives clinging to their pale blue sphere, fragile and insignificant among the sprawling empires of the stars. They mocked Earth for its stubborn independence, for refusing to bow to their trade laws, for holding on to sovereignty when entire species had long since surrendered theirs. But the truth was buried deep. Humanity had not been idle. Beneath the red sands of Mars, a shadow slumbered. Covered by layers of dust and time, encased in caverns that once hid it from prying sensors, lay Leviathan, the last and greatest weapon humanity had ever built. It was not a ship of exploration, nor a vessel of peace. It was a warship built in secret, in fear of a day when humanity's voice would be silenced by those who believed themselves superior. That day had finally come. The Galactic Council declared Earth a contaminant, a dangerous, unpredictable species that could not be allowed to spread. Fleets mobilized, armies prepared. The stars turned cold as dozens of civilizations united with one purpose: to erase humanity before it could grow beyond control. But Earth was ready. The ground trembled as Mars shook, its surface splitting. Dust storms rose into the sky as titanic engines awakened after centuries of silence. And then it rose, slowly, impossibly. Leviathan. Its shadow eclipsed the horizon. Larger than any dreadnought the galaxy had ever seen, its black hull stretched for kilometers, covered in weapons that made even veteran commanders whisper in disbelief. It carried the heart of a stolen star within its core, a power source that pulsed like the heartbeat of a god. Across the galaxy, sensors screamed. Fleets froze, and for the first time in centuries, fear gripped the empires that once mocked humanity. The first to act was the Threx Dominion. Their fleet of 600 warships surged toward the Sol system, confident in numbers, confident in strength. They had crushed dozens of lesser races before. Earth would be no different. The Leviathan moved. It did not rush. It did not scatter into defensive formation. It simply advanced, calm, steady, inevitable. When the Threx opened fire, thousands of missiles and beams cascaded through the void. Entire asteroid belts lit up in the brilliance of their fury. And then came silence. Leviathan's hull shimmered, bending light itself. Weapons disappeared into its void shields, absorbed as though they were nothing. And then, with a single flicker of light, Leviathan responded. Not a barrage, not a storm, just one beam. It cut across space like a blade of judgment. The Threx flagship, an enormous dreadnought, pride of their navy, was split in two. Its halves drifted apart silently before detonating into nothingness. The fleet broke. Admirals shouted, captains begged for orders, and in their panic, the Threx scattered. Leviathan pursued none. It simply turned its massive frame back toward the void, as if declaring this was only a warning. But the galaxy had already changed. Panic spread like fire. Worlds whispered the same name, Leviathan. The ship that was not a ship, the weapon that was not meant to exist. Civilizations tore apart treaties, rulers denounced the Council for provoking Earth, and entire trade networks collapsed under fear. The Coran Empire, proud and ancient, dispatched its grand fleet of 1,000 ships to put humanity back in its place. The fleet never reached Earth. Somewhere in the black between stars, the Leviathan found them. What returned to Coran space was not a fleet, but fragments, twisted wreckage drifting silently through the void. Whispers became terror. Empires began to crumble, not from war, but from fear. From every corner of the galaxy came pleas. Civilizations that once scorned humanity now broadcast desperate messages into the void. Spare us, and we will serve. Teach us, and we will obey. Forgive us, and we will never stand against you. The galaxy's balance of power was shattered. Overnight, once proud civilizations bent the knee. Councils that had sworn to eradicate humanity now begged for survival. Armies dissolved, rulers abdicated, and entire empires collapsed without a single shot fired, and through it all, humanity remained silent. Within the command deck of Leviathan, humanity's leaders watched the transmissions. Generals, scientists, and diplomats all bore the same expression: calm, not exultation, not triumph. Just calm, as if this was not victory, but inevitability. Shall we accept their surrender? One asked quietly. No, came the answer. Not yet. Let them remember why they fear us. So Leviathan moved again, slowly, inevitably. Its presence alone was enough to break worlds. When it entered orbit of a capital planet, entire populations fell to their knees. Cities powered down in silence, their lights extinguished in submission. Fleets refused to launch. Leaders surrendered before a single weapon was fired. Leviathan did not need to conquer. It only needed to exist. For the first time in galactic history, civilizations that had stood for millennia bowed not to an empire, not to a council, not to an ideal. They bowed to Earth, and humanity spoke only once. We did not seek war. We did not seek to rule. But if you seek our destruction, know this: your survival will not be your choice anymore. The words echoed across the stars. Civilizations listened. Civilizations obeyed. The age of empires ended. The age of humanity began. The galaxy had grown used to Earth's silence. When humanity stumbled into the stars, it did not roar with conquest or scream for domination. It watched, it learned, it listened. The great civilizations, the Seraph, the Drokon, the Veil Ascendancy, mocked Earth for its restraint. They called humans weak, backward, a primitive race stumbling into a cosmos already divided by powers greater than them. But restraint was not weakness. Humanity had survived wars no other race could imagine, had endured annihilation on its own. Soil had rebuilt again and again. Its silence was not born of fear, but of patience. The Galactic Council misread this silence. As Earth's trade grew, as its colonies began to stretch across a handful of stars, the Council convened. Old empires whispered, too fast, too reckless, too dangerous. Humanity's independence was a threat, and so the vote passed. Sanctions, embargoes, blockades. Earth would be starved until it bent its knee, but Earth did not kneel. Instead, Earth remembered. Drifting in the shadow of Jupiter, hidden behind radiation storms and cloaked by silence, lay humanity's oldest secret, the Harbinger. A warship not born from ambition, but from fear. Built in the dark days when humanity first saw the galaxy's true face and realized what might come. It was enormous. A city wrapped in armor, a moving mountain of metal and void. For decades, it had been silent, its engines dormant, its weapons powered down. A relic, a warning, a contingency for a day like this. And now, the day had come. When the Council's ultimatum reached Earth, surrender sovereignty or face eradication, the order was given. Power surged. Titan engines stirred. For the first time in centuries, Harbinger opened its eyes. The stars trembled. The first to notice were the fleet commanders stationed at the blockade. Dozens of alien warships orbited the edges of Sol, their captains smug with superiority. Then their sensors screamed. Something vast had awakened near Jupiter. The blockade commanders scoffed, until their screens filled with the shadow of the Harbinger. It was bigger than anything they had ever seen. Entire fleets could vanish beneath its hull. Its weapons bristled like the spines of some ancient predator, each one glowing with restrained fury. Even the void seemed to bend around it, as though reality itself hesitated in its presence. Impossible, one commander whispered. Not impossible, another replied, voice shaking. Human. The council panicked. Armadas were scrambled. The Drokans sent their Suncleaver fleet. The Veil dispatched their Black Spear armada. Together, more than 3,000 ships descended. Upon Sol, their purpose simple: crush Earth before the Harbinger could move. They were too late. The Harbinger advanced. It did not maneuver like other ships. It did not scatter into defensive wings or deploy swarms of escorts. It simply glided forward, unstoppable, inevitable. The Drokan fired first. Thousands of beams lit up the void, saturating space with blinding fury. Planets shuddered from the echoes of their weapons, and then it was gone. The Harbinger's shields devoured the onslaught as though it were nothing more than rain against stone. Its hull shimmered, folding light into silence. When the storm ended, the Harbinger remained, untouched, unbroken. Then it spoke, not in words, but in action. A single pulse of its main cannon fired. A lance of energy brighter than a sun. Where it touched, the Drokan's Suncleaver flagship ceased to exist. No wreckage, no flames. Just silence. The fleet broke. Panic spread faster than light. Commanders screamed orders, but crews abandoned. Their ships. Armadas that once ruled the stars now scattered like frightened prey. The Veil Black Spear armada turned and fled, their pride shattered before a single human word was spoken. The council watched in horror. Their great fleets, their centuries of dominance were nothing. Harbinger was not a warship, it was judgment. Worlds trembled. Across the galaxy, transmissions filled the void. Civilizations that once mocked humanity now begged for its mercy. Spare us, and we will swear loyalty. Forgive us, and we will give tribute. Do not point your warship at our worlds. We will do anything. The irony was bitter. For centuries, Earth had been forced to beg for trade, beg for respect, beg for recognition. Now, the galaxy begged in return, and humanity said nothing. Inside the Harbinger's command deck, the silence was heavier than the void. Generals stood at attention. Leaders watched the collapse of empires with eyes like steel. Shall we accept their surrender? One asked quietly. Not yet, came the answer. They must learn. So Harbinger moved again. It drifted across the stars, slow and deliberate. Wherever it appeared, civilizations fell apart. Empires dissolved before it arrived, their rulers sending envoys to kneel before Earth. Trade routes shut down, councils collapsed, armies deserted without firing a shot. The galaxy was unraveling, not under fire, but under fear. When at last, humanity spoke. The galaxy trembled. We did not build the Harbinger to rule. We built it because we knew one day you would betray us. You feared us. Though we sought only peace, you forced our hand, and now you beg for survival. There was no triumph in the voice, no anger, only calm. You will live, but you will remember. Humanity does not kneel. Humanity does not beg. And should you betray us again, the Harbinger will not simply awaken. It will end you. The message echoed across the stars. Civilizations listened. Civilizations obeyed. The Galactic Council dissolved. The empires crumbled, and in the silence that followed, one truth became clear. The galaxy no longer belonged to them. It belonged to Earth. For millennia, the galaxy had believed itself untouchable. Civilizations rose and fell, empires expanded and collapsed, yet the core truth remained unchanged. The great powers ruled, and lesser species obeyed. Among those lesser species was Earth. To the Ascendancy, the Drokan, the Veil, Earth was little more than a minor colony world, barely worth acknowledgement. When humans demanded equal voice in the Galactic Council, they were laughed out of the chambers. When they sought trade rights, they were granted scraps. And when they resisted, The empires agreed. Earth would bend, or Earth would break. The order was given. Fleets mobilized. Humanity would be chained, but humanity had been waiting. In the shadow of Saturn, beyond the sight of alien eyes, something vast slumbered. A vessel older than any alliance, built in secret during humanity's first, desperate steps into the wider galaxy. Its name was Erebus. Where Leviathan was fury and Harbinger was judgment, Erebus was silence. Its hull drank light until it seemed like a wound in space itself. It did not shine, did not gleam, did not boast. It simply existed, immense, black, inevitable. A planet killer designed not for war, but for deterrence. The promise that if the galaxy ever sought to erase Earth, Earth would erase the galaxy in return. And when the Council's fleet surrounded Sol, when their ultimatums thundered, across the void Erebus awoke. Its engines ignited like the breath of gods. The empires saw it too late. Their sensors screamed as a black shape larger than any known dreadnought emerged from Saturn's shadow. Entire fleets paled beside it. Even the admirals, veterans of centuries of war, felt their hands tremble. "It cannot be," one whispered. "It is," another replied, voice hollow. "Humanity has raised a planet killer." And then Erebus moved. The first to feel its wrath was the Corin Empire, the loudest voice demanding Earth's enslavement. Their capital world, an ocean jewel with 10 billion souls, was chosen for demonstration. The Council expected a siege, a battle, negotiations under fire. What they witnessed instead was execution. From Erebus's core, a weapon unlike any the galaxy had imagined awoke. It did not fire missiles or beams. It tore gravity itself apart. A single pulse lashed out, striking the Corin capital from orbit. Oceans boiled in an instant. Continents cracked like glass. The planet itself screamed as tectonic plates shattered, pulling apart into flaming shards. Within minutes, a civilization older than humanity's pyramids was gone. Not conquered. Not defeated. Erased. The galaxy froze. The proud Corin Empire collapsed overnight. Their fleets abandoned posts. Their governors fled. Their vassals declared independence in terror. Even the enemies who hated them most wept in fear, for if Erebus could erase the Corin, it could erase anyone, and panic spread. The Drokan sent envoys, not threats, not armies, envoys. Their message, broadcast across the stars, was simple. "Spare us. We will never raise arms against you. We will serve." The Veil offered tribute. Entire systems, resource convoys, their greatest treasures. They swore fealty to Earth, begging only for survival. One by one, empires that once mocked humanity crumbled. Their proud rulers sent desperate pleas. Their mighty armies dissolved without battle. Alliances shattered as civilizations scrambled. To prove loyalty before the shadow of Erebus reached their skies. Inside Erebus, the debate raged. "We cannot become tyrants," said one voice. "We sought only peace." "They forced this upon us," said another. "They would have destroyed us. Now they know the cost." "Do we accept their surrender?" someone asked. The answer was silence. The ship itself hummed with restrained fury, as if waiting for humanity's decision. At last, Earth's leaders spoke. Calm, cold, final. "We did not seek to rule, but we will not forgive betrayal. They will remember what it means to awaken Erebus." And so Erebus moved again, slowly, inevitably. Its passage through the stars was enough to unravel civilizations. Worlds shut down defenses before it arrived, broadcasting messages of loyalty. Armadas refused to engage. Cities dimmed their lights, praying the shadow would pass them by. Erebus did not need to fire again. The memory of one destroyed planet was enough to paralyze the galaxy. Across the void, billions of voices whispered the same word. Survival. Survival, not victory. Survival, not pride. The age of empires was over. The age of begging had begun. When, at last, Erebus spoke, it was not in threats or boasts. It was in judgment. You mocked us. You starved us. You sought to enslave us. You believed humanity would kneel. We did not. We will not. If you wish to live, you will remember this. Humanity does not forget. The words spread faster than light, etched into every archive, burned into every council chamber. Children on distant worlds grew up reciting them as prayers. The galaxy collapsed, not under war but under fear. Civilizations that once ruled for millennia now survived only at Earth's mercy. The council was gone, shattered into silence. Trade, politics, alliances, all bent around a single truth. Erebus had risen, and humanity had spoken. The last dawn of empires had ended. The first dawn of Earth had begun.